Prior to leaving for my trip back to Illinois, I had actually surpassed the 30-day mark of sleeping in a tent. So I figured I'd kind of talk about that a little bit, my experiences, and maybe there can be some lessons learned for you guys in case you ever decide to go on an extended camping trip. Probably the first and most important thing, when your phone says there is a 0% chance of rain, that does not mean it's not going to rain. Okay, there was times where there was a clear, went to bed with totally clear skies, stars and everything, 0% chance of rain. All right, it's good. I can leave some things out. And then 3 in the morning, I hear rain hitting the tent and I'm scrambling, getting out, covering things up in that. So I just now made it a habit every single night. I zip up everything. You know, everything is put in place where it needs to be in case it does rain, because I just assume it will rain. Um, that's the biggest premium you've got is dry storage space. So what things can you do with it? Tarps. Always bring tarps. Never hurts to have extra, like even a bunch of them. It's fine. They come in handy to, even if you can just cover something up. Tent space is, of course, at a premium. You know, some people would get a bigger tent. There's pluses and minuses. A larger tent obviously has more storage room in it and more room for people in that. But like when it on a chilly night, you actually prefer a smaller tent because it's easier to warm up with your body heat and maybe propane heater or whatever. So I've found that I actually prefer having 2 separate tents. One that we sleep in and have a few things in, and then the other one has the compost toilet, and then the compost toilet is in the center at the tallest point, so you can sit in there with some headspace. And then around it on the sides is storage, things I need to keep out of the rain. So usually when the next day when it stops raining, the sun comes out, I like to pull everything out of the tent, lay it out in the sun to dry out and that, and then I'll take the tents and actually lay them on their back up in the air with the bottom of the tent face towards the sun, so the sun will actually dry out the bottom and move it a little bit so the area the tent was sitting on can dry out too. That way you don't end up with a situation where water's trapped underneath the tent and it starts getting mildewy and stuff under there. So again, a larger tent would be a little bit more difficult to do that with, but it depends on your situation. You might have different amount of family members or whatever. So I personally prefer smaller tents and more of them, but you do you. Heating it, even on a hot night camping, it's not that bad. I mean, you just leave all the vents open and that, and it's fine. You don't really need to cool off or whatever. It's nice sleeping even in a hot night. But when it gets chilly out, that kind of is a game changer. Plenty of blankets. I mean, extra blankets, down to about the 40s, we're fine. We're laying on top of some pads and then a sleeping bag, and then we'll have blankets pulled over us. And even with Brute, I'll throw some of the blanket on top of him, not over his head or nothing, but just over the lower part of his body, and he stays warm. I mean, I'll feel up under there, and he feels like a baked potato you just pulled out of the oven. I don't know what his trick is, but even petting up at his head, which is out uncovered in that, his ears stay warm even. So he actually prefers the cooler temperatures. But I think it gets a little chilly. But if you're bundled up in warm enough clothes and you got covered in blankets and that, down into about the 40s is okay. Now, when it gets into the 30s, we'll kick on I got one of the little propane heaters. I think it's called a little buddy or something like that. And it doesn't work miracles. I mean, in the 30s, it'll warm up the tent just enough to make it feel as if it was in the 40s, So if you're thinking it's going to be around freezing and you're going to fire up one of those and it's going to keep your tent at a warm 70 degrees, your expectations are way off. The best it's going to do is really just take that extreme cold out of the air, because you actually have to leave a little bit of the tent ventilated with that. You know, it says in the instructions how many square inches of ventilation you should have for your enclosed in area for your specific model of propane heater, but you need to keep it ventilated for safety reasons. And even further than that, I grabbed one of the little battery powered carbon monoxide detectors. So if it gets to a certain high enough concentration, it'll actually start beeping off. So every night when I'm going to use that heater, I'll actually bring in the carbon monoxide detector and test it, make sure it's working. So, and I'll usually won't fire it up right away when we go to bed, because that's when you're first going to bed, it's not that cold yet. I'll usually have the heater with the propane tank set up and ready to go. So I'll go to bed, and then it'll usually be like 2 a.m. I'll wake up and like, okay, that's chilly now. And then I'll fire that up real quick just for the last few hours of the night before we wake up. Because, you know, that propane, you burn through it real quick in those. So the least amount I can use, the better. And, you know, the less you have in that thing as a potential fire hazard, even though you make sure you do it as safely as possible, it's still a little bit scary having it in the tent. But, so I just try to use it as little as possible. That is one good thing about this area in the Ouachita Mountains is even when it gets chilly at night, come the next day, it actually warms up pretty nice. You know, unlike Illinois, back then it would get cold at night and it would stay cold during the day. But we get nice days here even after a chilly night. So this is pretty nice. I came into it knowing that it was going to be a little rough on me physically. So for months prior to moving down here, I was working out really hard, you know, trying to just get my body in as good a shape as I can for it. And even still, man, the shock of it, you know, sleeping in the tent. I mean, even with the sleeping on a couple of mattress pads stacked up and the sleeping bag and then being on top of that, it still feels like you're on the ground, you know. So when you sleep, you never get totally refreshed and healed up as if you were sleeping on a comfortable mattress. So, you know, especially the first couple weeks, oh, every square inch of my body was in pain, you know. I mean, I'd be covered head to toe and in cuts, bruises, sunburn, insect bites, rashes. I mean, just all busted up. So at the end of the day, you know, me and Brute would crawl in the tent and we'd be laying there looking like Stephen Hawking and his old decrepit dog, you know. But you toughen up after a while. It hardens you up, you know, and you kind of get used to it. So, like when I went back up and stayed at my parents', you get you get to sleep in a little more comfortable conditions. It's warm in the house and got running water and everything, and you take advantage of those resources when they come to you. I mean, like when I get to their house and take a warm shower, I wasn't sitting there like, oh, this feels so amazing. I was actually, what was running through my head was, this is a temporary resource. What is the most efficient way I can use it while it's available here to me? That may sound kind of like a overly utilitarian thinking, but that's how it got, because I knew that, you know, that running water and a hot shower that's not reality for me out here. That's just a temporary thing. So just use it as best as I could and get the best cleaning that I could in. Wherever you're camping, look around in the area. Maybe you can find a local rest area or a shower house or a truck stop or something, or somewhere where you can get water from. I mean, you find resources like that, put them to use. Don't feel like you're less of a camper in some way because you're using a shower house or something. If there is something, absolutely go use that resource. It's available to you. It's yeah. As far as eating, a lot of people go camping, they get in their mind like they want this awesome outdoor meal, oh, for breakfast we're going to cook up bacon and eggs and all this stuff. That's a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of cleanup. I found just simple is good. A bowl of cereal works just as well, gets the job done. But if you want to do that stuff, for me, I have work to do out here. I'm out here, I mean, bare land, got to build the cabin and just all the thousands of things I got ahead of me to do. I really don't have time to be fiddling around with cooking and cleaning and all this elaborate stuff. I need to just get the job done and move on. Personal hygiene, you do what you got to do. Like I said, if you have a shower available to you and facilities running water, use them. You're camping at a park and they've got running water, even if it's just those pump spigots outside. That's fantastic. But in the hot of summer, you can take you showers out of the bags like I showed in my previous videos. You can do that. But as it starts getting colder out, man, it's getting tough. There's been days where it never really warmed up enough. So I just took me a quick sponge bath. Just you got to do something. You can't be just sitting around in your own filth like that. But you do what you can. Bring you some soap and that so you can wash your hands when you use the bathroom, and after you get dirty with food and dishes and things like that, you bring all your cleaning supplies. As it gets colder out here, that's one of the reasons I can't wait to get this cabin closed in with the wood stove to be able to uh, shower in there. I'm not going to be able to shower inside, but I figure if instead of during the warmth of the day like I am now, I'll instead bathe at night. So I'll go into the cabin, put some wood on the fire to start warming it up for the nighttime, and I'll warm up water at the same time. And even if I just got to stand in my galvanized tub and just sponge bath down with some warm water, it'll be good in an enclosed in warm area. Looking forward to that. But yeah, it's no joke. I mean, it kind of just happened hitting the 30-day mark, but looking back on it, it's tough, man. It's really tough. And you gotta be willing to change your plans. You might go into your camping with plans, oh, I'm going to do things this way or this way or whatever, but it always changes. I mean, there was just so many times where something happened and I just had to adapt to it. Like the first time it rained, I had to totally change everything, and then the next time it rained, I was a little better off. But okay, I got to change some other things in that. But be flexible, be willing to change up. I mean, I've been forced into some awkward situations, and if I'm going to be honest, I've done some things I'm not too proud of that I'm probably not going to talk about on video, but that's just how it is. You get put in a difficult situation and you just make it work somehow. I mean, you can bring all the supplies, which I did, and that's another thing this makes me think of is you hear so many people like in the prepper community say, oh, when the stuff hits the van, when civilization collapses, I'm going to go bug out to the woods. No, you're not. No way. They're thinking, a backpack and your rifle and just go out and live off the land. That's not going to happen. If that's your plan, you got no plan whatsoever. You're going to die a horrible death. I mean, I came out here. I've been planning this move out here for 5 years. I brought the van full of equipment, pulling the cargo trailer full of equipment. I had a storage locker where it all made trips down, where I have supplies in and everything. I have every advantage possible. I can go into the store, go get groceries. I can go to the hardware store and get building materials. If I have a medical emergency, I can go to the hospital. I mean, so many. The monopoly money we use still works. I mean, people actually will still accept that garbage in exchange for good stuff. So, I mean, I have all the advantages, and still every day I get a swift kick in the nuts from reality. So anybody that thinks that they're just going to bug out when it happens, you feel that you live somewhere where you need to bug out during bad times, then you need to bug out right now, like I am here, you know. Go through the difficult stuff now while times are good, while you still have all these resources available to you, because otherwise, not going to happen.